Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to our channel. As you probably already saw from the title of this video, it's going to be a little different video today. So usually we do like family vlogs and you see like the day in our life with our kids and stuff. But really this is something that's super important to us. So it's like, as we want to show you the daily life kind of stuff, if we don't show you this, we feel like we're not really being honest about who we are. And it's like this good news of the gospel, as the Bible calls it, the good news of Jesus, is like it changed our life, and it's the reason why we are the way we are. So it's like if we don't share with you that good news, we're just being super selfish and stupid. So we shouldn't be on earth if we're doing that. So I'm dramatic, as you can tell. But yeah, so I'm going to share the reason why I follow Jesus, and then Samantha over here, my lovely wife, is going to share why she follows Jesus. So
it's that West Coast point of view, easy when it's always summertime fun for you and I. Every act to do, who cares what the people think?
Alright, so here is my little story about why I follow Jesus and why I trust him with my life. So it started off, like if we go from the beginning, I grew up in a Christian household. My grandpa was a minister. There was a lot of people who were pastors in my family. And I grew up going to church every single week, that whole thing. But it really took me like finding the faith for myself to really realize this is something that I want to do. Like I want to follow Jesus for myself and not because my family says so. So I went on this long journey. Starting at 12 years old, I accepted Jesus in my life. So what that means is you accept him as your Lord and Savior, that he died on the cross, he rose, forgives you of your sins, and you come into that relationship with God. So that was like a quick synopsis, because it's confusing all this Christian speak. So I started, right, and I like went on missions trips, and I was excited, and I never had the problem with like doubting God didn't exist. I really had the problem with like doubting God loved me. That was my problem, and that God really loves people, which is crazy, but that was my struggle. So I felt like church was just all about religion. What I mean by that is just like a set of practices you do. You go to church on Sunday because it's the right thing to do. You don't cuss, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't have sex before marriage. You don't do all these things because it's just like the right thing to do. And I felt like Christianity honestly was a bunch of rules. It was like, if you do this, you're going to hell. If you do that, you're going to hell. And that's how I saw God, as almost this 5-year-old throwing temper tantrums in heaven, just like condemning us all if we don't do the right thing. And I'm sure maybe you have had this similar experience where you look at Christians and you're like, man, those people are uptight. You just think that's how we are. So I sort of went through this phase of like rebelling and, trying everything, sex, drugs, rock and roll, the whole thing, and in high school, especially, was when I really spiraled down, and I would go to a party and I would do this drug and I would do that thing. And it was like, it just led me to feeling more empty. And it was funny because you hear pastors and stuff talk about this in church. I heard good things growing up about God as well, in church. It wasn't all bad, but I had to experience it for myself. And I got to a point where I was just like so miserable and so lonely and just so like rock bottom. But it was just funny because like they say sin's good in a season, and like you could do these things and they could be fun for a while. But the reason why God doesn't want us to do these things, it isn't because he doesn't want us to have fun not having sex before marriage, or like these different things you hear about that Christians don't do. It's because those things could hurt us. Okay, and that's what I had to learn, that these things, that God created us. So as the creator, he knows what's best for us. It's like I don't let my 5-year-old go play on the freeway because I know what's best for him. I know. I don't have a 5-year-old. That's so funny. I have a 2-year-old. This was just a real example, though. I don't let my 2-year-old go on the freeway because he might get hit by a car. So he might think, oh, you're being really mean. Dad, why won't you let me go play on that road? That doesn't make any sense. And he doesn't understand it in his mind. But as the parent, I know that's not good for him. And I think that's what I realized. That's really how God's heart is. he doesn't want us doing these certain things, not because he doesn't love us or, it's because he wants the best for us, and he knows some things might hurt us in life. So I finally just like hit real rock bottom, was in a bad relationship, and where I really first saw Jesus was in my grandma, my Nana. She's like 80 years old, and I went to her just bawling, like crying my eyes out. And it's funny because everyone knows her as like a minister, works like with the homeless, like a real Christian, like the type that if she saw someone on the street, she would go pray with them, give them a buck. I mean, you know what I mean? Like really cares for people, like a Mother Teresa kind of thing, But she was like tough, and she didn't mess around with like us family members, like, like making bad choices in our life when she knew God had something better for us. But I went to her, and I was at my lowest of low, and she just knew it. And it's so funny, she just like wrapped her arms around me, and I was crying, and I don't know if she teared up. But in that moment, it was almost like the story in the Bible of a prodigal son. He basically like gets wealth from his dad. He goes out, he squanders all his wealth, and he's living in a pig pen. And for Jewish people, that's like a big no-no. You don't like mix with like pigs and stuff. That's not kosher. So he went back to his dad, and even after messing up so bad, his dad came running at him with outstretched arms. And I was like, wow, like this is like who Jesus is. Like, and then after that, I just went on this like rampage, I guess. And it took me a little while, but I finally like, I had a few hiccups and stuff where I like went back to my old ways, and I almost like got shot, held up at gunpoint, and I realized like, okay, like God, like you're right. Like, okay, like I'm done messing around. Like I'm going to end up dead if I keep doing the things I did, because I was crazy, like typical pastor's kind of kid. So I started like looking at YouTube videos for apologetic videos. Funny, YouTube. I started YouTube a long time ago. That's how I came to YouTube. This is epiphany for God. And I started watching all these apologetics. It's basically like to give an answer, to give a defense for the faith. So I had all these questions like, why would God allow sin into the world if he's God? Like, why does God allow like bad things to happen to good people? Like, why are children hurt in other countries? Like, why all these things? And I learned that all my questions were being answered. And I learned that like, if God's truth, then like he has nothing to hide. All the answers are in him. And then I started reading the Gospels. That's Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John. It's just in the Bible, the New Testament. And you learn about Jesus, who's the Son of God. And I actually like looked at him with a fresh pair of eyes and saw him like talking to a Samaritan woman at the well. Which like in that culture, like men would never talk to like a woman alone, especially a foreign woman. And then like when a bunch of Pharisees tried to like stone the woman at the well. Was that the well? They tried to stone a woman. I don't think it was a well. But Jesus looked at them and said, hey, whoever is without sin, throw a stone. And all the religious people walked away. So I realized like, wow, there's nowhere in the Bible where Jesus is like, you're a screw up, like you're going to hell. Actually, Jesus in the Bible was on the religious people, the ones who were Christians or believed in God just for show or personal gain. And the people who were actually struggling, who were blind, who were beggars, who were homeless, who were tax collectors, just all these people that were looked really down upon, God was there for them, and he was showing his love. And I saw like the goodness of God and the love of God, and that brought me to God. And I realized God wasn't all these things that I thought he was. He isn't condemning. He isn't all these things. Like, yes, like there is consequences if you don't believe in him, but like he doesn't like you separate yourself from God. He doesn't push you away. You have choices to make, and that's it. So because of him, because of God, just like life's not perfect, but I was able to get a theology degree. I was able to go to school, start working. I met Samantha. Like, our relationship, we put God first, and then our children. And like, the thing is in life, nothing's going to be perfect, no matter even if you're a Christian. But if you have God, you have a hope that this life isn't all there is, and that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you drive, how much money you make, what your job is, anything. You could even be single, you could be whatever. You could be floating on a raft in the middle of the ocean. But if you die, you're going to be in heaven with God, and that He's there for you, and He loves you and cares about you. And that's what I had to learn, that Jesus really does love you. And you might hear that statement, it might not just like click sometimes, and it might just fall on you, and you're just like, okay, whatever. But He really does. And that's why we're making this video, for no other reason than that. So that's my story.
It's like going like after like the really good student in school, and then like you have to walk up and do your thing.
No, that was my second take,
It's funny, there's actually like a lot of similarities like between like here and my story. Like it's really funny, all the points that you made. But I think for me, there were just like three major components that like had to come together for me to really like believe and follow Jesus. And I think number one was just like having the knowledge of what God did, and like that Jesus died for us. And the second was just like knowing why Jesus did it, like why He died on the cross for us. And then the last one was just like my heart had to be in the right place to like actually receive that. And I think it's like Tommy said, like a lot of times when you grow up in a Christian home and you go to church all the time. I went to a Christian school for 13 years. Like, I heard again and again, oh, Jesus died on the cross like to save you, and you just like become numb to that. Like that just like loses its meaning for some reason. And I think like for a lot of us, like we have to hit rock bottom just to actually like really like get into a real relationship with God. So my faith like fully became my own probably right around the same time that I met Tommy. I just had a few like failed relationships just again and again, and if you want more info on that, you could watch our Sex Before Marriage video. Where is it up there? But anyways, so I just started putting my worth in all of these like dating relationships that I had throughout high school, and if I wasn't dating someone or if things were going well, I just didn't feel loved, I didn't feel worthy. And it was just like a bad pattern that I had that I went through for years. And then finally, like it was just like bad relationship after bad relationship. And I got to a point where like I just didn't even recognize myself. Like I had given up all of my beliefs, all of like my boundaries, everything. I just like got to a point where I was like, what am I doing? Who am I? I didn't know like how to get out of it. And because I had that background in like Christianity, like I knew sort of what I had to do, and I disconnected myself from all of that, or at least I tried, and it was just like still like a daily struggle. I was still struggling with it even when I met Tommy. That's why we had to be so like careful. Without having someone, I just felt just like awful. I felt empty. I felt just like broken, useless. It's just so silly when I think now, but I just didn't comprehend like why Jesus died for me. I didn't comprehend that like He loved me. I didn't like realize that nothing can separate us from His love. Like He's not gonna leave you and stop loving you because you stop loving Him, and He's not gonna hold all of the wrongs that you've done against you. He's so just opposite of everything that the world is. So when I finally realized that Jesus just loves you, He doesn't require anything from you. He doesn't want like He doesn't need your love back for Him to love you. When I finally realized that, I knew that I needed to like get right with my relationship with Him. I knew that like He was what I needed, right? And so that's like the third part of like what I was talking about. Like your heart has to get to that right place where you're ready to just receive Him, and you're ready to actually like be in a relationship with Him, because a relationship with God is just like a relationship with anybody. It's a lot of work still, but God's perfect. He's never gonna let you down. He's never gonna like yell at you, or just all of these things. It's like, imagine the perfect man. Like that's what God is. He's just there always. So basically just like Tommy, I knew I was ready for a real relationship with God when I was ready to just like stop seeking the things of the world, when I was ready to give all of that up. Because previously I had always pushed God away because I didn't want to feel bad about the things that I was doing, and I didn't want to abide by the rules that he set. And you know, I finally realized, like Tommy, that like he puts those rules in place because he loves us, because he knows what's best for us. And you know, he wanted me to not have to go through all the hurt that I went through for years and years. But obviously I didn't listen. But you know, like God was still waiting there on the other side, even though I screwed up. And that's just what I really realized at the end of it, is that like, you know, sometimes God tells me to do things that I don't want to do, or that you know, that doesn't sound fun to me in the moment. But he always brings about good for it, you know, like, just for example, recently, like a few months ago, I just felt God telling me to go to Bible study at our church. And I really didn't want to. I really was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. I have kids, you know, I'm busy. And, you know, he just like kept tugging at my heart, and finally I was like, okay, God, I'll go, like, I'll try it. And, you know, the first like few weeks I came home and Tom would be like, how'd it go? And I'd be like, it was okay, you know, like whatever. And I was just like being miserable, right? And I kept going because I was learning about God, which, you know, I love to learn. It's like school, right? And so I kept going, and you know, if you fast forward to like months later now, like it has changed so many things in our life just from me going to Bible study. It's crazy. Just like that one little yes, like, you know, we've realized things like about our marriage. I've realized things that like I was holding back and that like was driving a wedge between us. I've realized, you know, like how to approach parenting the kids, just all these things that I've learned in these months. It's just crazy. And then like most of all, I feel like in the past few months, I've really gotten to just be able to discern when God's speaking to me. Just like I know for certain when it's God talking to me. And that's like, you know, amazing, because usually it's like, okay, is that God? Like, is that you? Or is that me? You know? So lastly, you know, a relationship with God is a really long journey, and everybody's journey and everybody's relationship will look really different. Mine was just up and down for a long time, and you're making me nervous by looking at me.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at you.
I just like forget everything that I'm saying.
Wow, just got a magic stare there for her.
So my relationship with God it's been up and down for a long time. Stop! You're making me
Sorry.
My relationship with God has been up and down for a really long time, and I finally feel like it's in a place where it's just gonna keep going up, you know, like I feel like I'm in a good place finally, and I think just the most important thing that I want you guys to get from this is just that Jesus loves you. It's so cliche and it sounds so funny, but like he really does, and that's why he died for you, and that's, you know, he wants a relationship with you, and he wants to be with you every day for the rest of eternity. You know, that's why he died for you. And, you know, you don't have to hit rock bottom like us to say yes to him.
Amazing. If you received that message, hit subscribe for weekly videos like this, and tap the like button. True YouTuber, you can't let that moment go by without doing that. So our plans are to do more videos like this, and we just want to share our life with you, our faith with you, maybe some of our struggles, our victories, everything. Just a way where you could get to really know who the Jordan fam is. Yeah. Before we go, if you have any questions on like accepting Jesus or just struggles with your own faith, our email address is in the description of this video. I would love to talk to you or Samantha and just help you out and just give you any advice any way we can, really. So thank you so much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. And Jordan fam?
Oh, I was gonna say, don't worry, the kids will be in the next video.
There you go. Yeah, the kids will be in the next video.
Jordan fam.
Jordan fam out. See you later.